Hi teachers, let's talk classroom management. Why is classroom management such a difficult topic? I think that at its root, it's a difficult topic because so many teachers have their own personal definition of what a perfectly managed classroom actually looks like. So today we're not going to be talking about policies and procedures. We're going to be talking about the overall idea of a classroom management system in your class. So for me, this overall system, one part, it depends on the students, and two parts, it depends on me. Let's talk about the student part first. Number one, on the first day of school, I explained to my fifth graders that I have 2 rules. That's it. And I do this because I think it helps deflate their anxiety about a new year, a new teacher, a new classroom environment. I think it just sort of brings down that level of anxiety if they know, okay, well, you know, there's only 2 rules. I can do 2 rules. And here are my 2 rules. Number 1, respect others and their property. Number 2, be prepared. Now, I know this doesn't seem mind-blowing. I put a lot of thought into this because I didn't want number 2 to be work hard, because some kids equate working hard with always making a good grade, and I didn't want that association necessarily to be there. I didn't want grades in any way, shape, or form to sort of come into play here. So I'm trying be prepared instead. So on the first day, I'll say I have 2 rules, and of course I have a poster, and I'll say, okay, what I need you to do is I need you to turn and talk to your partner and see, I know this is crazy, it's the first day of school, but I actually want you to turn to your partner and brainstorm a list of terrible things you could do this year and see if there's anything a student could do that's not covered by one of these 2 rules. Because if you can think of something, I might have, we're gonna have to think about this. I need your help. Can you think of anything? And they think, wow, she wants us to brainstorm a list of terrible things. This is great. So honestly, I've never had anybody come up with something. If you can think of something, please leave it in the comments below to give me the kind of heads up. But so far, over the years, so far so good. Nobody's ever come up with anything, because of course they come up with talking back to the teacher, respect, being ugly to somebody on the playground, respect, breaking a pencil that belongs to somebody else, or breaking a pen, kicking a locker. All of that is respect of property, somebody else's property. To be prepared. That can be anything from, do you have your homework? Did you bring your forms in? Did you show up to class with the notebook that you need? Any of those kinds of things. So again, the one part of my classroom management system that depends on the students are the 2 rules, and hopefully nobody will come up with something that's not covered by one of my 2 rules. Now, what falls on me in terms of classroom management? Number 1, I have to always remember that the general rule is this. When it comes to my end of planning, I always need to remember that the typical attention span of a child, generally speaking, it's their age plus 7 minutes. So in my class, if my 5th graders, if most of them are 10, plus 7, 17, so I have got 17 minutes max before they need to switch activities or move or do something. So basically, my mini lessons have got to be under 15 minutes. Or my classroom management is going to be a problem, and guess whose fault it is? Mine. So I've got to keep that basic standard attention span rule in my head when I'm planning. I have to remember, okay, I can't expect them to sit and just listen to me talk, or minimal activity for more than 15 minutes. We've got to keep going. All right, so the other part of the classroom management plan that falls to the teacher is this. It's that building connections and building relationships with your students aspect of the classroom. Again, it's so important. It's really, teachers should spend as much time and energy worrying about how they're making these connections with individual students, you should spend as much time on that as you do on lesson plans. Because basically, once you have a connection with a student, I mean, it doesn't mean everybody's best friends. You know what I mean, professionally, these connections. But your job is so much easier, and your classroom management flow is just there when these connections are happening. Because really, let's say, somebody starts to act out, and I always like to start with questions. Like if somebody's talking and I'm talking or whatever the case might be, and I might say, "Oh, are you okay?" "What?" "Yes." "Oh, while you were talking, I was making sure nothing was wrong." "Oh, no, ma'am." And then we move on, and they get the hint of that. If you have to do it more than once, they realize what you're doing. Or, other questions might be somebody's talking, to their friend, and I say, "Okay, everybody, it's time to start." And they keep talking, and then you'll say, "Oh, did you have a question about what we're doing? Are you asking your friend which book you need?" A lot of times a question will solve the problem. Sometimes if I have to say, "May I speak to you in the hall?" And then I'll say, "What's going on? I know you, and you usually don't act like this." Again, the combination of, in other areas, you're building your connections, and then you can ask questions to sort of diffuse or figure out, give the kid a chance to sort of tell what's happening, what's their side of the story before you just, jump on them. So, again, classroom management, your overarching system. For me, it comes down to 3 things. One of those things is the student's responsibility, and 2 are mine. The students follow those 2 rules. The teacher, remember the attention span rule, and be ever mindful of how you're building those connections. Yes, Melanie, your 2 rules sound great, but that's not really real world teaching. You're right. You have to have not necessarily rules for classroom management, but you do have to have strong policies and procedures. Policies and procedures is a whole nother video. So we'll go there next. All right, everybody, have a great day and teach on.